Today, according to the official version, it is the deepest subway station in the world.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 facts about Ukraine.
It's a railway with a tree tunnel.
For this list, we're looking at interesting facts about the Eastern European country, including its history, its culture, its people, and even its soil. Have you been to Ukraine? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Number 10, the largest country in Europe. Russia is often referred to as the largest country in Europe. And while 1,532,500 square miles of Russia does lie within the European continent, another large part of it extends well into the continent of Asia. So, if we're only looking at countries whose entire landmass resides within European borders, then the largest country by area is actually Ukraine. The country covers a total land area of 233,062 square miles, which includes Donbass and Crimea, the annexation of which we'll get to a little later. Number 9, one of the world's first constitutional documents. While the American Constitution is a very important document, it was by no means the first constitution the world had ever seen. In fact, the Constitution of Philip Orlik was written 78 years before the United States ratified its constitution in 1788.
The uniqueness of Philip Orlik lies in the fact that, unlike many of his predecessors, he truly fought for the idea. In addition, his constitution, strategy, and tactics in the creation of an independent Ukrainian state were not based on selfish interests.
Orlik was Ukraine's head of state equivalent in exile. Though it wasn't enacted, the document not only set out rules governing the separation of powers between the branches of government known as legislative, executive, and judiciary, but also limited his own powers as hetman of Ukraine.
The document written by Orlik was called the Covenants and Constitutions of the Laws and Liberties of the Zaporizhian Army, and was essentially the first constitution of the Ukrainian state.
298 years after it was first drafted, the version of the constitutional document written in the old Ukrainian language was discovered, with a King Charles XII of Sweden signed diploma in Moscow, while the Latin language original is in Sweden.
The Constitution of Philip Orlik was a very important legal state act of the 18th century.
Number 8. It's known as the breadbasket of Europe. Not only is Ukraine the largest fully European country, but 70% of that large area is excellent agricultural land. In fact, much of the country's land consists of a black soil called Chernozem, whose richness makes it perfect for the cultivation of grains such as wheat and barley, and earns the country its nickname as Europe's breadbasket.
Ukraine was, and will be the breadbasket for Europe.
And besides all the wheat they cultivate and export, Ukraine is also the world's largest producer of sunflowers and sunflower oil. Estimates rank them between 3rd and 4th in world potato production, depending on the source.
Over 80% of Ukrainian certified organic agricultural exports go to EU countries.
The country is also a world producer of soybean and corn.
Well, our corn and sunflowers grow up to 2 meters high.
Number 7. Cafes, cafes, cafes. When we think of coffee in Europe, we usually think of France or Italy, but we really should be thinking about Ukraine as well, as it's been said that it was a 17th century Ukrainian war hero who brewed the first ever cup of coffee in the 1860s in Vienna, Austria. This Austrian man of Polish and Ukrainian descent was named Jerzy Franciszek Kulczycki. And so began a true love affair with the caffeinated drink that can especially be seen today in the Ukrainian city of Lviv.
It was one of the first cities in Europe to start drinking lots of coffee, a good coffee quality.
The city boasts hundreds of coffee houses, including a cat cafe and an underground mine cafe where you can order a flaming coffee that uses a blowtorch to caramelize the drink.
It's been claimed Lviv has the most cafes in the world per capita.
Number 6. President Volodymyr Zelensky was a comedian. Volodymyr Zelensky took office as the 6th president of Ukraine on May 20th, 2019, just 5 months after having announced his candidacy on New Year's Eve of the previous year.
Зробили це разом.
And while he was new to Ukrainian politics, he wasn't new to the Ukrainian people, having earned his fame in the country as a comedian and actor. He even played the president in a popular show called Servant of the People that aired from 2015 to 2019.
My congratulations. We decided to take your country to the European Union.
But that's only one piece of his celebrity resume. Zelensky was also the voice of Paddington Bear in the Ukrainian dubbed version of the films, and in 2006, he was part of the winning team on the Ukrainian version of Dancing with the Stars. Number 5. Nuclear-free since 1996. As part of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, Ukraine had a large military presence and the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world within its borders. When the USSR dissolved in 1991, that military force and nuclear cache remained in the country. However, just a year later, Ukraine signed the Lisbon Protocol to the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty and agreed to join the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty while on the path to becoming a non-nuclear state.
Ukraine entered as a non-nuclear weapons state, which meant Kyiv had to transfer all its nuclear warheads to Russia.
Ukraine didn't have the political will or financial power to maintain the weapons and build their own nuclear program from the ground up.
In 2001, its last missile silo was demolished.
Also, aid packages from the United States came with a get-rid-of-the-weapons caveat. It took a few years, but by 1996, Ukraine was nuclear-free.
So, either independence without nuclear weapons, or nuclear weapons without independence. So this was the question for us in Ukraine.
Number 4. 7 World Heritage Sites. A World Heritage Site is a structure or place that the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization has deemed to have, quote, cultural and natural heritage around the world considered to be of outstanding value to humanity. Ukraine has 7 of them. These include the St. Sophia Cathedral in Kyiv, the historic city center of Lviv, which was founded in the Middle Ages, and the ancient city of Torek Khersones, which dates back to the 5th century BCE. Ukraine may be a relatively new country as far as its independence is concerned, but it's home to a rich cultural history.
The St. Sophia Cathedral in Kyiv, it continues to produce new mysteries and new secrets.
Number 3. Only recently gained independence. In 1922, Ukraine became an OG member of the USSR and remained one until its dissolution. Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev was working towards changing the USSR as it was, including a reform program and the drafting of a treaty that would decentralize the Soviet Union's power to the Union republics. Old-school communists in the party didn't like this idea and attempted a coup in 1991, which failed. The Ukrainian parliament then passed the Act of Independence.
The independence of the country was almost unanimously proclaimed.
They would soon set up a semi-presidential system and a new constitution separating the powers of the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of government, and providing access to free education. The importance placed on education could be a reason for the country's high literacy rate, which ranges from 99.4% to 100%, depending on which report you read.
According to the results of the referendum, no one could doubt that Ukrainians want their own independent state.
Number 2. The 2014 Ukrainian Revolution. There aren't many politicians who can say they've been ousted from power in 2 separate populist revolutions. But Viktor Yanukovych is one of them. In 2004, Prime Minister Yanukovych, with support from Russia, won an allegedly rigged election for president, leading to public protests in support of his pro-Western opponent, Viktor Yushchenko.
They claim Yanukovych's victory was rigged, with reports of ballot stuffing.
Yushchenko survived an assassination attempt, and thanks to the Orange Revolution, became president.
He thanked the hundreds of thousands who had taken to the streets to demand democratic change.
Yanukovych eventually did become president in 2010. However, his refusal to sign a free trade and political agreement with the EU led to major protests at home, and a vote to oust Yanukovych from power during the 2014 Revolution of Dignity. After Yanukovych asked Russia for aid, Russia used the growing protests as justification for military action and the annexation of the Ukrainian Crimean Peninsula.
This is a Russian invasion, the U.S. says.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Hero City status. In the summer of 1941, German forces surrounded the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv.
On the 4th of August, the Germans intensified the assault on Kiev.
The encirclement was the largest ever seen in wartime and eventually led to the capture of Kyiv by the Germans and the death of hundreds of thousands of Red Army troops. However, before that happened, many civilians within the encirclement bravely volunteered to help and fight the Axis German forces. The strong resistance from the soldiers and the civilians did not keep the Germans from taking the city, but it did make them work harder and longer for it, in turn messing with their blitzkrieg plans.
The 37th Army, 100,000 strong, would hold the city.
To honor the city and its people for their ferocious and sacrificing resistance to the German occupation, the Soviets bestowed on Kyiv the honorary title of Hero City.
This diversion to Kiev wasted valuable time and resources.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.